What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric. Today we're going to be talking about why your strings are breaking on your guitar and how we can resolve them. Here we go. We're going to start things off with a real easy one, and it's just the fact that you got to change your strings. You're going to see the strings on screen right now, and I'm going to try and capture them as best as I can, but they are beyond the end of their life. Strings are pretty cheap for the most part. I know you can get like a pack of strings for maybe 10 bucks, and I've even got packs of strings from like a music store house brand, which are, pretty decent strings at the end of the day, for around 5 bucks. Stock up on as many strings as you can, even if they are the house brand that are a little bit more expensive, and just keep going through them and just keep cycling strings on your guitar. You don't have to change them as frequently as your favorite touring and professional guitar players, who are probably changing them once every show or a couple times a week, but change them as much as you need to just to keep them fresh and from them breaking. That's really easy preventative maintenance. Another thing you can do with your guitar strings is simply wipe the guitar down when you're done playing it. Use some GHS Fast Fret. Wipe down all the strings on your guitar with a microfiber cloth as well. That's going to pick up all the oils and the grease that just comes from like your fingers and like your natural sweat. Get those off the guitar, and that's going to also extend the life of your guitar strings. Another area of where your strings are probably breaking on your guitar is going to be the nut. A reason of why your strings might be breaking at the nut could be related to the actual height of the nut, or at least how the nut slots are slotted, and if there's also any sort of debris in the nut. If the nut is sitting too high on the guitar, you're actually going to increase that break angle on the guitar from where the strings are going up towards the nut and going down towards the headstock and towards the tuners of the guitar. You're going to be making essentially like a pyramid or like a tent with the nut in the middle, and that's just going to increase the break angle of how those strings are sitting. Your strings are sitting like this in your nut slot. If we're going to pretend the nut is right here, you're just going to be increasing the chances of your strings breaking because they are under more tension than they should be. Another thing, if the nut slots are not slotted correctly, maybe they are too tight for the guitar strings, they are going to be binding those guitar strings, and they are going to create another wear point at the nut as well. So make sure the nut slots are slotted properly for the correct string gauges. Finally, if there's any sort of dirt in the nut, make sure you just like wipe it out with a microfiber cloth, get a vacuum in there, like get out all that dirt. You could also use a little bit of fretboard oil and just put it in there to actually lubricate the nut slots, and that's going to actually make a smoother contact point for the string to sit in the nut, and again, reduce string breakage. The final area that I want to talk about to why your strings are breaking on your guitar is going to be related to the bridge and the tailpiece, especially the tailpiece in this particular instance. Now, if we take a look at this SG tailpiece here, you can see we have two adjustable points here. The tailpiece can go up and down, and the bridge can go up and down as well. And just as the nut, as I was talking about the break angle, there is another break angle down here on these particular Tune-o-matic style bridges here. If your guitar is similar to this with a tailpiece and a regular bridge like this, what you want to do is make sure that the tailpiece is sitting almost at level, if not just a little bit lower than the actual bridge here, to reduce that actual break angle and then save the life of your strings at the saddles down here. Now, when we're thinking about the last part of the bridge here, especially with the saddles, what I want you to look at really closely here, which I'm going to show on screen, is the way that these individual saddles on this particular style of bridge are grooved. These are kind of shaped like a little bit of a V, and you can see some of these other saddles have worn down a little bit more, but at the end of the day, you have metal on metal, and some of these V shapes are pretty sharp. So when you are thinking about this, you have metal on metal in sharp areas and some parts that have worn over time, probably not worn evenly. So you are going to get a lot of inconsistencies in here, and you're probably going to get some sharper edges in here that you might not notice because some of those jagged edges are just so small. And of course, that's another contact point. That's some more friction on your guitar strings, and you're probably going to snap them at the bridge down here. There's a few things you could do. You could put some fretboard oil in here. You could put some like 3-in-1 gear oil in here just to actually lubricate those saddles a little bit. You could also run a little bit of sandpaper in here just to scuff up the edges on the inside, just so the strings are sitting properly and they're not going to be hitting against any sort of jagged edges on your bridge saddles here. Something else that I recommend is actually swapping out that bridge entirely and getting a roller bridge like we have right here. You don't have to get the most like fancy name brand one or anything. You just need a roller bridge, and this is going to adjust the exact same way as your regular Tune-o-matic style bridge, but you're also going to notice that the saddles that the strings are sitting on are actually rolling, and they are circular, and they are matching the shape of the guitar string. So in theory, you're going to be able to preserve the life of your strings by changing out these saddles here, or just by changing the whole bridge here and swapping them out entirely. I'm going to put both bridges on screen so then you can see how they are faring up and comparing to each other, but I am going to say, like, with your strings that are circular and cylindrical shapes sitting on another surface that is more circular or cylindrical, it's just going to preserve the life of those strings, and it's going to reduce the amount that your strings are actually breaking at the bridge if that is something that's going on. Even with those guitars that have hardtail style bridges, if you're noticing that the strings are not sitting properly, get a little bit of steel wool, run that steel wool through the saddles of where the strings are sitting, clean up those edges and make sure they are smooth and that the strings are not sitting on any sort of dirt or maybe any sort of paint flecks or anything like that. The goal is that your strings need to be sitting on clean surfaces that are unobstructed so they can perform the best. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you learned something new. Let me know down below, especially if you are running into this issue and maybe this is the actual solution to your issues for breaking strings in your guitar. If you like this video, make sure you hit subscribe. Got tons more videos like this and as well as other guitar related topics. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Got tons more videos like this on the channel. Thanks for checking this out and I'll see you next time.